Hello everybody, I'm Sharon and we are here to talk about Comic Watch again. Yay, Comic Watch! Comic Watch is a video series in which we turn the spotlight on Indian indie comic book artists and creators. And this time our indie locator landed us lost in the pages of comic book artist Jay Undurti's publishing label, Sainagri. Jay Undurti has written two self-contained graphic novels called the Hyderabad Graphic Novel Project and the Bangalore Graphic Novel Project. So what are these comic books? Both Hyderabad and Bangalore Graphic Novel Projects are part of a series of stories that have been created by Jay Undurti to mythologize cities as characters. In all his graphic novel projects, none of the characters repeat themselves, so which means that the only sort of static character in both the stories are the cities themselves. So this is part of his long-running project called Every City is a Story. As opposed to every human being is a story, every city is a story. Do note that these are not accurate historical accounts and in by no means should be your definitive guides to actually knowing what's happening in Hyderabad or Bangalore. It's definitely not like a Lonely Planet read where you'll pick up and like, I will go have Italy here. No, don't do that. The stories are actually just fantastical accounts of what they represent to both Jay as the writer and Harsho Manto Chattoraj, who is the illustrator and letterer of the graphic novel. So the first one that came out a few years ago is the Hyderabad Graphic Novel Project. It has a series of 4 stories. The first one is called The Late Cretaceous Incident. This story has a time-traveling auto rickshaw, a hunter looking for big game, and its intended victim, poor little T-Rex. The next one is The City Speaks. This is a really fun tale. It's actually a really interesting intermix of sorcery and strategy as coded into the architecture of cities. What Jay hypothesizes is that the way a city denotes development as opposed to a way a city denotes destruction are coded into the layers and the streets of the city as envisioned by the architects and the civil contractors who built it. Now this could entirely be a true presumption or it could be complete bull, but it's really fun to read this kind of perspective. So he talks about the Egyptian pyramids, the catacombs, the city of old Hyderabad and new Hyderabad, and there's also a little passage about Le Corbusier's Chandigarh and how it was built to denote like marvel and prestige and development and all those strange European new age concepts that were not part of the Indian ethos. I'm from Chandigarh, so I was like, what? Anywho, that happened. Another interesting part about Hyderabad Graphic Novel Project is the cover. It's a beautiful, beautifully illustrated cover done by Mukesh Singh. Now Mukesh Singh is one of those rare gems and finds in just Indian comic book arsenal because he's this unassuming guy who lives in Dadar. You will completely miss him if he passes you by in a crowd. But he's actually the Marvel comic book artist who does the covers for the Indestructible Hulk, Old Man Logan, the New Invaders, and also Grant Morrison's 18 Days. He's just a phenomenally talented guy and his art is just like alive and it's breathing. Moving on from Hyderabad to Bangalore, that's the second city that Jay visited through his Every City is a Story project. And Bangalore Graphic Novel Project is drastically different only because he's got more people to contribute. So there are, even though Jay has only written one story, he's got other people to contribute and make the whole story together. So he's got Rama Ramya Krishna, Prashant Miranda, Apu Pen, who's also the subject of our first Comic Watch. The link will be here, there somewhere, which you will find. Okay. And Zach Oya. Each of these stories have been contributed by these really phenomenal artists who are storytellers in their own right. Hence, they all are drastically different. For instance, Apu Pen's story is called Bangalore, of course. And it is, of course, no prizes for guessing again, a story about dystopian future where robots, machines, and man are intermingling. Oh, wow. But it's nice because, again, in true Apu Pen style, there is no text, there's only art. Then there is The Missing ATM by Zach Oya. The Missing ATM by Zach Oya is again a very interesting story that talks about like a Kannadiga guard who's guarding this ATM as if it's his last posting in the world, and what all happens to him because he's actually dreaming of Vindaloo while he's guarding an ATM. I can't tell you what all happens, but it's really, really fun. There's also Prashant Miranda, who's a Goan-based watercolor artist. His idyllic story of how he saw Bangalore in the early years. Another really cool story is by George Supreet, which is called Beneath, and the story is about an alternative reality of how Bangalore came to be. It's got like pagan rituals and like sacrifices and like strange, weird people trees, and yeah. It's just a fun book to read and fun sort of art to immerse yourself in. What I like, the magic, the mysticism, the mythologies. It's just really, really deep and immersive, and you can really get lost for hours just reading and rereading the panels. What I dislike, except for the fact that the narratives could be much more diverse, the stories could be much more layered, there isn't much female representation except for that one voice. I think that will be an interesting element to include in the future Every City is a Project series. I hope you're listening to me, Jay. Some unsolicited advice from a reader. Read this if, like me, you are sort of bored of mundane, linear, pop culture, predictable stories and are looking for something to really get lost into. There's nothing predictable about these graphic novels, guys. Besides the fact that they are graphic novels, each panel is so different, so vivid, so immersive. You'll be like, what? Do not read this if you're a student of history and study anthropology and then you're going to spend the next 2-3 hours finding holes in the plot line. It is fantasy. And this is definitely not a Wikipedia spiral. Don't do it if you're going to read it like that, okay? The next destination that Every City is a Project is going to is Hamburg. Jay has collaborated with Fabian Stolz, who's a Hamburg-based graphic novelist and artist himself. And what they're doing is turning Hyderabad and Hamburg into like this one storyline where there are going to be like strange serpents, giant serpents, World War nonsense, and just some weird things are going to be happening in it. You can completely like be rest assured that if Jay and Fabian are involved, there's going to be some mad shit going down. We also have giveaways, guys. We have copies of both the Hyderabad Graphic Novel Project and Bangalore Graphic Novel Project to give away. So keep your eyes out on social media to know what is going to be happening. If you guys like Indian indie comic book writers and creators, please tell us people whose work you think we should be following. If you've read Jay's work, please tell us what you think about it. Agree with us, disagree with us, talk to us. We are always open to conversation because we are cool like that. Also follow Jay's work. We'll put links to all the stuff that he does online as well. And support indie labels, guys. I cannot say this enough. I think a lot of publishers are doing a lot of commercial work, but a lot of the indie work seems to slip through the cracks because it's phenomenal, it's fresh, it's interesting, and everybody should be reading it. And yeah, subscribe to Books on Toast or your mama will kill you.